Alright, hello ladies this time. No gentlemen, just ladies. Welcome to one final video critique. This time around we're going to be looking at your final projects. And we're going to be looking at the work of Ashley, Becca, and Shelly. So, without further ado, let's jump right in. We're going to start with Ashley and her tiny adventures, featuring Mia, Lily, and Joey. And I gotta say, I thought that this was a lot of fun. Um, I love these kind of things where you can sort of take, um, the skills that you've learned about in the class and really do something a lot of fun with it. Kind of lots of imagination, and yeah, I think that she definitely accomplished that very well. So I'm just gonna go through. We'll kind of look at them and then talk about which are the best images, which are the most successful images. One thing I'd say overall is that the illusions are all pretty good. Definitely a lot more sophisticated than they needed to be for this class, certainly. I think there's definitely a pretty good degree of believability, in terms of buying at least the logic of the image. So let's start back up at the top. Again, I thought this was a lot of fun. A ton of fun stuff. Obviously, she's hanging off there. I like the repeated forms here, the repeated text, and then all the different kind of colors. And there's beyond just being like really good ideas. These are also pretty well put together. You can see stuff like she matches pretty well with the backdrop. Sometimes a thing that'll give these away is if the person is brighter or darker overall than the background, or just the lighting doesn't match. And it pretty much matches 100% in all of these. And these feel like a lot of fun. They feel like sort of the daydreams or fantasies of these girls. I really had to say, especially something like this is really pretty convincing. I like that. Even to the point where if you look down here, you see the sort of the barely there reflection of her feet in the tub. And this is the sort of thing that if you don't get this, it's a small thing, but a lot of times people pick up on small things without even really being able to vocalize them, and that will sort of give it away that it's fake. But you've done all the things right here, actually, that you need to do. I think the only one that I saw that wasn't quite sure if it was this. I think you could probably bring down the contrast on him just a hair. He would match up better, but I do like that he's shallow depth of field, the leaf's shallow depth of field, or at least shallower than if it was just all one continuous sort of deep depth of field thing. Let's say shallower depth of field, maybe. This one I also thought was pretty convincing because it really does look like he's kind of jumping off of there. So yeah, excellent. One of the best final projects I've seen in this class. So congratulations, Ashley. I'm giving you a little round of applause here. It's more like a golf clap, but very nice work, very nice. And also just feels like it goes all together well. It's a sort of cohesive unit. Yeah, very impressed. All right, up next we have Becca. Let's take a look at your work, Becca. Okay. There's a lot of, I think, some pretty interesting results that you got here. A lot of stuff like this where it's it's kind of like what this is because I guess you get it from the context, but otherwise I would have no idea that this was snow. It's kind of been transformed from its sort of natural state into something unusual, and I definitely like that quality about it. Skip over that. Here's another one. Again, super simple image, but really effective. And everything about it is working really well. sort of the toning, the fact that it's black and white, and then this sort of leading back. I think that really works great. I was going to say, this doesn't look edited, but I feel like it does go with the rest, because again, just like with the last one, fairly simple in terms of its palette. You got like maybe, you got white, almost black, and then sort of a tannish brown. So it's very, it feels like it goes together. Again, I would say I like a lot of the elements that are going in here. I feel like that's visually very pleasing. I can maybe even see it like cropped, move down more like this to really kind of take advantage of this, because I feel like that's sort of the most interesting thing. This is nice, and this is nice, but like this is, I feel like that's your image right there. Like come across here and come up there to just have a little bit of room on the edge of that branch. Oh yes, the applied image. I gotta say with this one, I don't like it as much as the others, just because it sort of fits, because I mean, it is kind of the same subject matter, but it's approached a little bit differently. And I would say I like sort of stuff like this that you did more. Feels a little more atmospheric. Again, I would say this, I think, is pretty good. I don't know, between the toned and sort of the as shot panorama, I do kind of like the black and white here. Big surprise. I tend to like the black and white, or sort of, I guess obviously not black and white, it's more like black and red, but I would say that's one I could even see, rather than the sort of reddish, almost magenta-y thing going on. I could even see this like with a kind of more the blue effect that you had with maybe something like that, or even something like this. In terms of your best image, it's fun. I didn't even notice, like, it's solarized, but like mostly just the snow is solarized. Like, for whatever reason, I was thinking this was in black and white, but you can see it's actually brown and green on the tree leaf, and then the snow itself is what got solarized. I would say either this one, in terms of talking about your best image, or maybe that one. Yeah, one of those two, I would say. With a lot of these, I think what's going really well on both of these is sort of a less is more thing, because it's kind of, I mean, it's obviously, there's a ton of stuff happening. There's this, there's this going on here, and yet overall it feels like, because there's not a lot of visual clutter, it's a fairly simple composition. It feels like my attention is really kind of drawn to this. Like this feels like something, like a detail that would otherwise be lost, but because of the way that you framed it and shot it, it really does. It feels like it's sort of like a found thing, like something you kind of discover within the image. I also like the fact that it kind of arcs like this. I feel like that's sort of a graceful movement. And again, if you imagine that rule of thirds line, sort of the imaginary line that goes to the rule of thirds, it's really like kind of, this thing is sort of like, it's following it. It's sort of, it has like a visual balance to it along that line. This, I would say, a lot of the same things. You have this sort of graceful line here, actually kind of a little bit reminiscent of that line in the last one. Sort of blades of grass, and it's all on this white background. And this is the sort of image too where if you didn't expose it properly, it wouldn't work. It would just look blue, and it would be just not anything special. But because you really nailed the exposure, you nailed the composition, that ended up being really good. So I'd say, Becca, among some of your best work, you guys, like a lot of people in this class, really kind of pulled out their best work at the very end here, which is a good thing to do because it's the one assignment that's worth the most points. But yeah, it also, I always like to see it when it feels like the work is coming together at the end. That's always kind of satisfying thing. Alright, and finally, last but not least, we have Shelly. I'm going to go ahead and just zoom out a little bit. Maybe just one more, because I want to be able to see. There we go. Alright. No, I thought that there was a kind of a cool thing. Sorry, I got a leg here. But it's kind of, I saw a lot of stuff in here that made me think of like, like maybe fairy tales, or sort of like this landscape was, I don't know, there's something of like, something about the way that it glows. It sort of felt like kind of an enchantment in a couple of these. Again, really nice use of color here. And another one that has a fairly simple, fairly straightforward composition, but it really fits well with kind of the subject matter. There's a few interesting things, like, I don't know, for whatever reason, this makes me think of David Lynch, this kind of blue church spire, like on the, I guess it's one of the pews, or maybe a bench? I'm not entirely sure, but the kind of juxtaposition of these made me think of his work a little bit, some of the visuals that you see in his movies. Again, fairly simple composition with a really nice yellow. I think that's kind of like buttery, almost lemony yellow that I think is really kind of visually pleasing. Overall, a really nice use of color in a lot of this. Again, nice use of color there. Overall, not, fairly simple color palette, but again, a lot of times less is more. And there's really, in a lot of these, kind of a sense of peacefulness or calm that is, that I find interesting. This I'm a little less interested in. I don't know, I feel like, again, maybe it is kind of getting a little visually cluttered with some of this. Maybe a little less depth of field would be the sort of thing to kind of bring that down. And then you have something like this where, again, there's more going on visually, but it doesn't feel cluttered in the way that, like, sort of the background here kind of makes this feel cluttered. And this, I was really on the fence about whether or not I like the edges here. I feel like I like the idea of them more than I like how they actually came out. But I feel like I like this idea. Like, I like this sort of look of this abandoned building, but it looks like, what do I want to say? Like, maybe that you used a wide lens on it when you really wanted a bit of a longer lens. Because I feel like it feels like there's a little bit of like a warping of those lines, sort of like a slight bulging that you get with the wider lens. And that may have been that this wasn't possible to shoot with a longer lens, but I feel like that is an option. I do like, though, like all these leaves on there and sort of the look of these empty windows quite a bit. This isn't bad, although I kind of feel like it's similar to the other image with the kind of translucent, semi-transparent fisherman guys. And it's just, this I like, and I like the sort of long, I feel like you use the long horizontal format pretty well, but this is a little bit busy for me back here. And then, again, I think this is one, I'll wait for it to fully come up, but I feel like this is another one, visually simple, kind of like a less is more thing that I find to be pretty effective. So, oh, I totally forgot about this one. I do like this quite a bit. I like how black these are. I do wish that we could see a little bit into here. Like, I wish it wasn't quite as blocked up. And this is the sort of thing, like, this would be a perfect image to do with HDR, because you have like all this gray tonal stuff, and then you're kind of losing it in here. And HDR would give you a way to preserve like some of this stuff and still be able to get what's in there. So overall, I would say that your most effective images are, I'm just going to go all the way up to the top here and go down, do it that way. So this I like. I'd say probably that first one, this, although for a totally different reason. So the two that I mentioned, this one I like quite a bit. And yeah, I'm going to say those three I think are pretty effective. And this I like a lot about it, but again, wish we could have gotten a little bit more. This might be something too that you would I don't know if you'd consider redoing this. I mean, it wouldn't be for me. It would more just be for you, but I really like what is happening in this image. I think that, again, if you were able to kind of bring back some of this, that could be a really, like a pretty nice image for like your portfolio or something. All right. So yeah, really a lot of excellent work in this group. So that is the end of our last video critique together, guys. I thought you did great work. There's no there's no word to let me know that you watched it, because shoot. Anyway, there's no word to let me know that you watched it because it's not like you would. I mean, this is it. This is the end of the class. It's not really anything that I would go to. I just want to say, I think that especially you three in this group have a ton of potential and a ton of talent, and I wish you all the success in the world and all good luck in your future endeavors and your careers in photography. And one day when you guys are famous, any of you, feel free to drop me a line and let me know that you made it, that you're working in the biz, or that you're some rich, high-paid photographer, one of these fashion people or something. Anyway, enjoyed having you guys in class, and good luck in the future.